And welcome everyone to another exciting adventure on the energy that surrounds us. I'm your host, Michael, and I just want to share something with everyone before I start tonight's episode. I oftentimes will say I'm so blessed to have a returning guest, but this guest is actually rather unique because her first appearance was as a panelist. And so this is actually her first solo appearance, but her second appearance. So I'm going to hand it off to my amazing guest. I am so blessed. She's nearby. I haven't had a chance to investigate with her, side by side, but eventually it's going to happen because we're too close for it not to. And so without further ado, I give you the one, the only paranormal medium extraordinaire, Leila Olivarri.
Hi, everybody, and thank you, Michael, for having me. I'm excited to be back. And I think we were at an event and we missed each other by like hours or something. So we were this close to meeting each other. So we definitely will have to get together.
Definitely.
Yeah. I was on here before at the Warren panel, so I'm excited to be back on my own.
Yes, and so why don't you give everyone a little brief view of what it is that is in the daily life of the paranormal for Leila?
All right, so I'm not big into being into groups or being all out there anywhere. So I pretty much live a normal life, but it's changed. Ever since I did start doing the paranormal, everything has changed. And I started off being a paranormal investigator and going on investigations, which I still love doing. I did, went with a friend this weekend, Jamie, and we went to the Jefferson Hotel, had fun there. But the reason I like talking about the Warren being on that panel is it introduced me to more residential, to helping people. And I'm blessed that I'm part of that foundation and that I learned and met all those people because I was helping people. And that's what I really wanted. I love investigating, but there's a part of me that's more servant and I want to help people. And I was able to do that with that foundation. And I continue to do that with some of my friends. But to me, that was just an amazing experience. It opened my eyes. I got to meet people around the world that are in this and had more experience than I did. Because I think we were talking about offline that, there's no experts in this field. So I will always take the opportunity to learn from someone else. There's always something new. There's always something that someone says, hey, think about this. Let's do this idea. And may not have thought about it. So and just always learning in this field. But so basically, I don't do anything all day. I go doing. I'm into my different spiritual life right now. So I'm opening more of myself to my gifts and my abilities that I have right now. I've surrounded myself with people that are helping me do that. I was born and raised Catholic, so I suppressed all that. I'm sure there's a lot of people out there that are familiar with that. And so I'm just on my journey right now.
No, that's really cool. And so, what has been, in your opinion, the biggest difference for paranormal investigators when going to, like, say, La Bahia, in Goliad versus doing a residential house?
A residential house, there's people that are involved, their emotions are involved. And when it's gotten to the point where they're reaching out for help, they're usually really scared. So, and a lot of them have younger kids, and they're just at their point. They don't know what to do. So, your main job in that situation is to calm people down. Let them know, because I know everyone knows the D word nowadays, that everything's demonic. We know that's not true. And, they may have reached out to other people beforehand that have told them that. I've heard the craziest stories. I heard someone get told they had a spider demon. I heard we had someone that had land and they had two trailers on the land. They literally told them to destroy the trailers, and they literally blew one of them up because they said it was on the ritual land and that there was a spider demon there, and that was the only reason to get rid of it. So by the time they reach you or us, they're at their wits end. So it's basically you're trying to calm people down and you're trying to teach them what they need to do to deal with what they're dealing with. Sometimes it's an egregore, sometimes it's their energy that they're bringing it forward, sometimes it's mental issues, and sometimes you're just helping people. So it's and when you're going in an investigation, you're trying to get your own, you're trying to get EVPs, you're trying to get pictures, anything like that, and it's a whole different ball game.
Without giving too many details, I'm curious, have you ever come across any clients where you say this is the best way to clear out what's here and this is how you can keep it gone, and then it's like you come back and they're like, well, we said we did everything, but it came back and it didn't work? And are you like, uh-huh, we can tell?
Yes, all the time. And actually, I think some people were addicted almost to the attention they were getting from it, and they liked having whatever was around. They didn't really want to get rid of it. So, and a big thing of it too is you have to approach the people like how they are. So, depending on what religion they are. So if they're Christian, you're going to go help with them with the Bible and that kind of stuff and help them. If they're Buddhist, you got to go that direction. But also a big deal is if the whole family isn't willing to do it, it's usually not going to work. Like say the wife reaches out to help and the husband doesn't really want to partake and doesn't really listen, that's not going to help, and those people will come back. So some people feed on it, some people just want to know what's there, and they're okay. Sometimes it's relative, sometimes it's nothing harmful, and they're okay with that, and we learn to we teach them to live with that. But then there's some people that want to know who it is. Did someone get killed? They're still looking at all the research and the crime and all that stuff, and they're just, I think it's more of an addiction in a different way.
And you bring up a good point about the D word, because I personally think it gets thrown around too much in
Yeah.
every aspect of the paranormal. But how do you, handle, clients that are like, I know we have this and you need to remove it. You said you could, and you're like, but you don't. Do you
Yeah.
just say you did and move on? Or are you like, look, we're gonna be honest. This, you don't have this. I'm telling you, you don't have this. We're gonna remove what's here.
We were pretty honest. I mean, because you're gonna know if you're dealing with a demon, you're gonna know. It's not gonna be maybe. I think it's something you're gonna know. So we did have people there, and and then some people just won't listen. And at that point, you just have to do everything you can and let them go. But no, we never. What I personally act like I did something it didn't, because I think that does more harm than good. But a lot of it, we had them doing mental evaluations, physical evaluations, because it all affects what's going on. We had drug use, if there's drug use, or even prescription drugs that cause you to hallucinate. And some people will listen, but you, just like you said, there are some people that it doesn't matter what you tell them or what you say, they're going to think what they think and do what they want to do, and we just gladly part ways with that.
Right. And I'm wondering, whenever you were doing a personal home, did you ever get evidence and you were like, "Oh my god, I wish I was in a public venue because is such awesome evidence, but we can't
We
share it because this is someone's house."
We have gotten good evidence before, and a lot of the stuff I did with the foundation was also via Zoom. And there's stuff you pick up on Zoom that you would pick up even if you were there in person that you're seeing. And of course, we would never say anything like, "Oh my God, there's something standing behind you right now," because you're going to freak the people out. So, but yeah, it would. There's like you're itching to be able to do something, but you can't. You just got to remember you're there to help the people.
Yeah, and so for those that may not remember when you were on the psychic panel, what was the aha moment for you when everything started clicking and you're like, "Oh, I have this gift. Let me go into, this will help me in the paranormal." And what impact do you feel like it has on you?
I don't really think there was one aha moment because when I was a kid, I know I have experiences, and now looking back on it, I know that was the kind of experience. And like I said, I suppressed everything. But then once I got interested into the paranormal, I started meeting other people who have gifts as well, and they teach me to open up. I mean, it's just like you said, you were talking about your instincts earlier. That's everyone has those. Everyone is empathetic to some point. So you just got to open yourself to that, and it just helps you listen to people, be more compassionate to people, and it helps you be more accurate when you're talking to them.
So
But I mean,
you
I'm still learning. I'm in the beginning stages. I'm still learning a lot.
and you have a unique perspective because you had the abilities, then you quote suppressed it, and now you're bringing it back. So, what advice or what kind of wisdom would you share with people who maybe have the ability and are like, one, I really don't, I'm not sure I want this. So, how do I quiet this down? Or vice versa, is, well, now that I've quieted it down, I wish I had it back.
I mean, I think if you don't want it, it's you need to talk to a kind of someone who knows anything about it, and they can learn to help you ground and block it off. You can protect yourself when you have abilities. Anyone that has them, you have to learn to ground and protect yourself. It's the way I've talked about it before. When you have abilities, you're like a beam, like a light is shining on you. So if you have spirits or anything going by, they're going to see that. It's like a lighthouse, and they're going to be attracted to you. So you also tend to get more activity. So people freak themselves out. If you learn to deal with it, there's other people who have, that they can communicate and see things and see entities, and they get freaked out about it. And if you learn how to control it and how to block it, then it's not as scary. And you can do with it what you will. If you're not comfortable with it, then don't go with it. But if you're interested in it, I would find a mentor that can walk you through the steps and help you do exercises and everything to help you get to where you need to be. But
Yeah,
most of all, have faith in yourself, because if you don't believe in yourself, it's just not going to happen.
that's very true. And everything, actually.
Yeah, yeah,
I'm like noticing the picture behind you, the scream.
yes.
And I've never asked this question on a show before, but I'm feeling like, why not? Let's go there. So, being a paranormal investigator and with the abilities that you have, do scary horror movies actually scare you, or do you view them more as like comedies because you're like, yeah, knew that was coming? Yep, figured that out.
Yeah, it's more like what you're saying. It's more entertainment for me, and like Scream is more gore, but I like to be scared, and it takes a lot for me to be scared. So if I get a movie that's going to scare me, or there was that movie recently, Obsession, that came out, which wasn't necessarily scary, but it made you think, so thought provoking. But yeah, they don't scare me. It's more entertainment.
What do you think of the Final Destination series?
Oh, those are one of my favorites. Those are
Me
one of my
too.
absolute favorites. I still, when I used to go tanning back in the day when we didn't know better, I'd be in the tanning bed imagining that scene. Any little, or when you're behind a log truck, I still think of all that stuff. But no, that fascinates me. That movie's the concept of it's good. Like you miss death and it's still going to come find you some way, somehow.
Yeah, well, it's not that they missed it; it's they cheated him, and
Yeah, they
so
cheated it.
so I'm kind of curious, with your abilities, along those lines, do you feel like you could cheat death in a way because of your abilities and keep a leg up on what's coming? Or do you think your abilities may be like almost like a hindrance because everything will start looking like, ooh, this is an omen. Oh, this is a sign. Uh oh, and go
I
nuts.
mean, if you let it, it could do that. But I mean, and a lot of people who do have abilities, like myself, you don't, it kind of, when it's on means to you, it comes to you, you kind of block yourself. Like I couldn't do a reading on myself. Just like I have friends, Tammy, she's on here a lot with you. She's my very dear friend, but she couldn't do a reading on me because we're friends. So I think there's a part that the universe kind of balances that out or it doesn't let that happen.
Yeah, and it is so interesting because she and I are friends too, but
She's
yet
amazing. I
it's
love her.
like we have a friendship that goes so far because I also get readings from her, so we have to keep it separate for
Yeah,
that part.
she
And it's
knows
like,
way too much about me to do a reading on me.
but we did a paranormal investigation one day in April, and I was kind of actually surprised, and I'm gonna lead a question to you on this. Is we found a portal where we were investigating, and with that, I'm wondering, are you one of those that with your abilities you can go, oh, there's a portal here, there's a portal over there, or are
So I'm at the
you?
stage where I can sense that and I know there's something going on, but it's not as open like you're saying that there's a portal. Like I have a feeling like there's sometimes I'll be like, don't go over there. There's something bad over there. And I've been on it. We actually went to a Bobby Mackey's and I did not want to go up to the upstairs room where the caretaker was. We had two people that night that freaked out and almost left because they were upstairs. One, it was an older couple. The husband to this day will not go on any, he will not go into step foot to any haunted location. Whatever happened to them freaked him out so much. So it's more like the feeling I get there too, like there's something that's warning me, don't go over there. There's nothing good right there, or there's something that leads me to over here. There's a good spirit that's looking to reach out and needs help.
Yeah, so do you think you'll ever find that moment like they say with everybody is this investigation is going to be my last one because I feel like either one, there's nothing left to learn, or two, this actually has freaked me out so much so that I can't do this anymore.
I don't think I would ever get so freaked out that I couldn't do it anymore. I I hope that I'm one of those people that I've seen, on little tours that they're barely able to walk and go up the stairs and they're still investigating and doing what they want to do. And I'm also fascinated with the history of the places, along with the paranormal. So that piques my interest. But I really don't think, like I said, I follow my instincts and I don't put myself in situations that I think that I would ever be like, oh my God, I don't think I can do that again.
Yeah, and so talking about, I'm kind of going to fast forward the show for a second because normally I'll ask if you have any upcoming events at the end. But I feel like our paths are due to cross maybe twice this year because are you going to be partaking in the 31 days of Halloween Denton
You know
or
what? I
the
have not because my good friend Teal that usually does that. She had some health scares recently, and she's the
yeah.
one that we were kind of on her team, and she has backed off on the paranormal, which I respect. I understand that. So unless I find someone else that's out there, probably not.
Okay, and then the other was the History Haunts and Legends.
I might be going out to that. I've been thinking about it. So, are you going out to that one?
Yeah, I'll be doing the 31 days of Denton with my friend and maybe some of her team. We tend to walk around, and I was surprised last year when I went to the Halloween, or no, not last year, the year before, the first time I went to the Halloween because it was a library, and I was like,
Yeah. The
how
Fowler, I
haunted
think it
could a
was.
yeah, I was like, how haunted could a library be? And it's like I stepped foot in there and I was like, this place actually is legit.
Yeah, you can feel
I
it when
would
you walk into places.
I was like, I never thought of the library as being a place because I mean, we all seen the movie Ghostbusters where
Yeah, yeah.
the
Oh, yeah, yeah. We're all
librarian at the
the
very
Slimer's going
beginning.
everywhere.
I'm
That's
like,
funny.
yeah. So it's like we go to asylums, we go to military bases that are abandoned, we go to hotels, or but saying I'm going to a library just
Right.
doesn't come up that often.
Some of the most unexpected places, though, are the most active. Like I had gone to it's a funeral museum down in Houston, and my friend Becky at the time had somehow got us an invite. We were able to investigate overnight, and they don't let that happen anymore. But we got so much activities. We got growls. We got names coming. I mean, we got stuff. They had the security where if you pass by the exhibit, it sets off the alarms. We had the alarms going off and no one was by the exhibits. We were freaking out that the police were going to be called. And who would think that, there is funeral stuff in there, but you wouldn't think that it's haunted. So that
Right.
that was cool. So sometimes you got to expect the unexpected and look in places you wouldn't think.
No, I'll totally agree. And there's kind of a new controversy going on in the paranormal community, and it's not over what you think. It's not that question. It's Goatman's Bridge in Denton. So many people are like, "Oh my god, it's haunted beyond belief," and others are like, "It's not really haunted. It's more of your mind playing tricks on you." Where do you land on the Goatman's Bridge scale?
So, I don't know if you knew this, but I used to be a tour guide out there.
Oh, I
So
knew.
yeah, so I
That's
have a
why I'm
little bit more of
asking.
experience out there. I honestly think the place isn't haunted from the history. Now there is some spirits that I encountered out there that I think had been there from before, but they were benevolent spirits. But everything like that's evil or bad feeling, I think people have brought in. Because a lot of people, you go out there any given time at night, they're playing with the Ouija board, they're doing rituals. I mean, we've seen animal sacrifices. We literally saw like cats and dogs hanging in trees, which is horrific. But I think that people brought that out there. So I don't think necessarily, the whole goat man and everything, the origins, it can't be traced. You can't find a goat man, or you can't find, the goat man was actually the good person, right? There
Right.
was a bad spirit supposedly named Steve that was out there, and you can find a history of Steve, but you don't really find it connected to the bridge. So I think it is just because, like I said, of the stuff people bring in. Like when Ghost Adventures went out there, they went out there, opened a portal, and they're like, all right, bye, see ya. And they left. So, you get multiple people doing that, it's going to tend to bring in that bad energy.
Right. And I don't know if you knew, but they actually painted the bridge recently.
Oh, they did? Yeah, I haven't been out there in a couple of years.
Yeah,
That's,
it got a fresh coat of paint, and I feel like some of those hidden etchings are going to be reappearing because people don't
yeah,
know what they're doing. But
yeah.
I'm kind of interested with you being the guide and everything. Do you include the structure on the other side that's got the Ouija board as the concrete slab and saying this is the house, or do
So
you go to the actual house?
the actual house is actually a couple miles down the road, so we would never go down to the house, but we would invest. We talk about both sides of the bridge, so we would go on the actual bridge, but then there was you can go further on each side, so we would go on each side, and there was actually one side that you could feel it. It was a little bit heavier, but I also think there was a lot of like elementals and a lot of like Indian spirits, that kind of stuff out there that aren't. I feel like there was a pull to that location where other energies that are around feel that there's a place that there's other people there or other entities, and they kind of get pulled to that location. So there's a lot of travelers that go through that kind of stuff. But I mean, I honestly don't think it's anything terrible, evil either. Like
No,
thrown in the air and choked.
I, and I feel like the fact that the slab that we're talking about that's got the Ouija board like
Yeah,
covering the whole thing on the other
yeah.
side of the road. I think what adds to the mystique of it is you got to travel through the trees, and it's like you've got to follow a certain path, and it's really deep kind of feeling
Yeah.
in there. And so it's like, yeah, you feel like you're going into a horror movie just to get there
And
kind
it
of
does
feel.
get dark really quick there. That's one of the cool things about that. When you're out there, it gets dark quick and it stays dark out there. So it's a little creepy, eerie feeling, but I think it's a fun thing too.
Yeah. So what's been your craziest experiences there?
At the Gutman Bridge,
Yeah.
we had one night where there was a storm coming in, and and we actually did, anytime Oscar, who's the actual goat man, who's a good person, would come through, we'd always get the same voice. I went there several times throughout the years, and it would always be the same voice. You knew it was him. But there was a storm coming one night, and the equipment started going crazy, and it was telling us to leave. So we ended our tour early and took off, and there was a tornado that was coming. So that was pretty cool. And I've had some clear EVPs at the spirit box sessions. I've had people, cuss me out, get the fuck out, leave, and it's but clear. You hear some of those, and you kind of have to listen and see what it is. But I've had some, I've had people get scratched out there. But I think there's a lot. I think that's a people's energy, and they go out there taunting that kind of thing.
Oh
So
yeah.
you're gonna whatever energy you're putting out is what you're gonna get back in.
Right. I agree. And I'm kind of curious if you're kind of like I am, to where if a spirit says you need to leave like that, I'm like, okay, we can leave. But like you're saying, if they're like, you need to get the fuck out, I'm like, oh, now you're making me want to stay. It's
Yeah,
like,
yeah, there's a different and be careful go. And there's a different than because I also think that they probably get sick of us, being out there all the time. And a lot of people confuse that and they think, they do think it's a demon or they hear a growl or they hear, oh, it says I'm the devil. That's not going to be the devil. That's not going to be a demon. That's just someone that's sick of you being there and they're trying to get rid of you. And
yeah,
there, I don't get scared at stuff like that because I really, if like I said before, if it's something really bad, you're gonna feel it. But that kind of stuff, it's more them just they're sick of you there and they're trying to scare you and get you out of there.
yeah. And I'm starting to wonder now, because we always assume it's going to be a human spirit. And when we get like the growls, everyone automatically is like, oh, it's this. And I'm starting now to go, wait a minute. How in the paranormal field have we discounted and forgot about animal spirits? And so the
Exactly.
growl could be a dog, it could be a,
It could be
family
anything.
pet
Yeah.
or a wolf that was nearby. It's like,
Yeah. And everything's not past human. Like I said, there's other spirits that were never of this world. So that I believe in other kind of cryptid type things too. So it doesn't matter. It's not necessarily a human. It could be an elemental. There are good and bad elementals. So it's just different things to me.
so where on the scale for Layla is the ET question?
I actually believe in that. I really do. I believe in everything in that field. My dad was in the Air Force. And I never thought, until he got older, he was always obsessed with anything like, the communion back in the day, that book and in the movies and all that kind of stuff.
Oh
And
yeah.
finally, but like a year before he passed, I asked him, I'm like, because he was in the Air Force, he was in Alaska, he was in different places. And I asked him if he ever experienced anything. He said he did. And they were told not to talk about it. It wasn't classified. So I'm like, there's something to that to me. And they've come out and admitted it now. So I absolutely believe in that.
No, that's true. And now I have a really cool, fun follow-up question, is because this question comes from my own experience. So the ET's paranormal or not paranormal field criteria like to investigate? Because I've
Yeah,
seen where the UFO community is like, we are not paranormal and
I don't
we
think
are
it's quite
not.
paranormal. I mean, I think it's like you kind of lump it in with the field, but I think it's I mean, and the paranormal field can be so much like Bigfoot, all that kind of stuff, but I just don't think I feel it lumped into that.
See, and this is what I love about the paranormal field, because I'm kind of the opposite. I'm like,
Uh-huh.
paranormal is anything unexplained. A
Yeah.
UFO, by its namesake, is unexplained. Therefore, it's paranormal. And I look at it that way. And it's interesting. And Willow Roots Creations is saying how many places may just be a CIA operation or psyop or experiment.
I think there could be some, but I also think that what they're experimenting on is what they have. They do have the alien technology there that they're experimenting on.
Yeah, I will
I think it's a
definitely
little bit
agree.
of both.
I think it has to do with the places because if it's like a place like near a military base and it's like one specific claim, then I might sit there and go, that could be a psyop. That
Yeah.
could be government, experiments.
Yeah.
But if it's multiples that are like way off the scales of each other, I'm like, I don't know that I would classify that as a psyop because
Exactly.
there's too many variables to the psyop to keep track of.
Oh, and
And
you've had
what
reports where the whole entire town, gets some, they experience it in different ways. So how do you, I don't think that's an experiment.
no, and I was gonna say what I'm meaning by variables is you have apparitions, you have growls, you have
Yeah.
moving objects, you have these are all so different in their own definition that it's like, yeah, we can't rig this to do
Eh,
everything.
right. And I don't know. And some of the people's, if you listen to their stories, that they're just, there's some of the people are very believable. They didn't want to come forward. They were embarrassed about it and they were kind of forced out into it. There's some people out there trying to make money off of it. And those, a little bit more skeptical, but the ones that are reluctant, to me,
Yeah.
yeah, the religion and faith is a whole different thing to me too. Because I happen to believe that everything is connected, that you, like I was talking about Buddha earlier, or the Muslims. I think everything that they're praying to is all the same thing, but we're just seeing it in our own different ways. It's just different pathways. It's our culture, our religion. We were learned, born and raised Christian. I believe there is a God, but I just think that everyone sees it differently and calls him different things.
Well, I mean, let's look at, a prime example to back that up and kind of make sense of it is, we all have lawns that have grass, right?
Yeah,
But there's Bermuda grass, there's Kentucky
exactly.
bluegrass, there's, so there's different variations of the grass, but they're all grass.
And it's the same in the paranormal because if here we call them spirits, in the other places they call them jinns. It's all the same different. To me, it's the same thing, but they see it different culturally.
Yeah.
So there's just different ways to get to where you're going.
And I I feel like even if you were to, look at, the religions and look at, everything going on, we can't say because, so many different things going on, this or that is what it is because everyone has their own perspectives, their own filters, so to speak, that they're bringing in. And so, like, you and I, and let's say four people are in this room, and we see, and I go, hey, there's an apparition of a lady in white just walked by.
Yeah,
Well, one of them may go, oh my God, a lady in white, that's an omen of death, and run out of the building. Well, then
exactly.
you're going to have somebody who's going to run out of the building because they're going to be like, I don't know if they're right, but if they're, I don't necessarily believe, but if they are, I don't want to be the one. So I'm with them.
Yeah,
So you have the
exactly,
follower. And then you
exactly.
have like you and I would be like, well, let's go find out where she went.
Yeah,
And
exactly. Let's get
the
our
other,
equipment and go.
yeah, the others will be like, there was no apparition. I don't know what you're talking about.
Yeah, that
So
is
it's like,
100% true. And every religion, if you think about it, everything that they came basically comes through humans, the Bible, the Quran, all that stuff. I know they say it comes from God and that, but the interpretation of it gets handed down through humans. And to me, it gets corrupted and it gets changed in a way, just like you're saying, my opinion is this, so I see it this way. Well, that person sees it another way. And it just gets to where we are. So I just think there is a higher being. Of course, obviously, I believe in God, but it's just how we see it.
Yeah. I've had when I would lead groups like for events, I would say, I know this is going to be funny, but before we get started, I really need y'all to do me a favor. And in their in their mind, they're sitting there going,
Yeah.
"Yeah, he's going to ask us to do something paranormal, to do this or that." And I always I play the wild card, so to speak, because I'll always go, empty your minds, clear your minds, throw out every expectation, every possible outcome, just throw it all out. And when you've done that, let me know. And you'll see some people are like, okay, that was easy because I didn't have any to start with. But
Yeah.
then you notice the ones that were like, but I came here to see this.
Yeah. Yeah.
They're, you
Exactly.
can see the gears turning, going, wait, if I'm not paying attention to this, I'm gonna miss it. And I'm like, and then I'll be like, okay, you've stewed enough. I'll go, you need to go in with an empty thought, an empty mind, with no expectations, because if you go in and saying this is a place for EVPs, you're gonna miss the apparition. If you're
Yeah.
like, this is the place for the apparition, you're gonna miss this. So you have to be completely empty to experience everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
And they all go, oh,
I mean, but it's true because if it's kind of like when you're looking at a picture and someone says, "Look, there's a spirit here," but they circle it and it's what you're expecting, so you see the
yeah,
face, that kind of thing. So if you're going in with an expectation, you might not get it. You might see something different.
yeah. Willow Roots Creations is asking, what if it is the same with people thinking it's aliens or others think it's angels?
I think that's people's perspective. I personally don't think it's the same thing. I There is spiritual beings out there that I think do guide us and help us, and to me that's separate. But to hey, someone that's living in the woods somewhere, to them it might be. They not realize what it is, and they could think it's an angel.
I'm kind of the field of, from my personal perspective, is we talk about aliens being, and we're referring to beings from another world. Angels, they come from another realm. So I say, another world. So to me, technically,
They
that
could, yeah,
makes them the
technically they
same
are.
thing.
Yeah,
But yeah, I mean, there's different class, of each, and so are they? Well, you could argue yes, but at the same time, you could argue no, because we're making assumptions,
yeah.
and that's where a lot of things go nutty. And so
Yeah, I
uh,
mean, how much do they say that we don't use a huge portion of our brain, that if we did, it would be completely different and we could see differently. So we're just maybe not opening our minds, like you say, enough to see what it is.
that that very well could be true. Down in Dirty Investigations is asking, are y'all paranormal investigators as far as investigating spirits, entities, etc.?
Yes, yes. When I go on my own personal investigations, I do, and also you try to debunk, but yeah, I definitely go out and have my EVPs and that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I am a metaphysical paranormal investigator, so I do bring metaphysics in. So that's where I somewhat differ from others. Is just means I look at things like Layla was saying. Mine's a little bit bigger as to the options that
Yeah.
I'll put out there, and saying, yeah, this is what it could be, versus limiting it down. And I will say investigating spirits, entities, that's a small part of what we do, I would say.
Yeah. Like I
Uh,
said
he,
earlier, I mean, the history of everything is a big deal to me as well.
yeah. He was saying, I was doing an investigation in Gettysburg last week, and I had an older couple join into my group, and they were all into the Bigfoot, UFOs, and even fairies. It's not my cup of tea, but it's allowed. Well, kudos to you for allowing it because most people won't. And I feel like that limits the field. And
Yeah, I do
so
too.
I had to say, I respect the fact that, you openly say that's not my cup of tea, but you don't tell other people they can't do it and
Exactly.
limit them. So,
Yeah.
way to go on that.
Keeping an open mind, like you said, and who knows what you might, might see something that you now believe in.
Yeah. And I don't know if you've gone to Gettysburg. I haven't been there yet,
No,
but
I haven't.
I'm starting to get a feeling of a lot of activity there may not be from where they think it is. And Down and Dirty saying, thank you. I appreciate that. You're
You're
welcome.
welcome.
And what I mean by that is so you and I both know pareidoia, all those little nuances of if you are focused on this, you're going
Yeah.
to see it, it's going to make it. So, what if, you know, you're going to this battlefield and everybody, I'm sorry, there's nobody that's going to go and investigate this field and say, hey, there was a battle here. I didn't know that. Or people died here. I didn't know
Yeah.
that. It's like, it's the impossible blank slate for a medium, so to speak, or
Yeah.
a
Yeah.
psychic. So, but with that being said, I wonder how many experiences there are actually experiences or things that your mind made so that you feel like you got what you came for because
Yeah.
that's what you were focused on.
Yeah. I mean that makes sense. I can see how you can say that. I mean, and I've seen like some pictures that you do see the soldiers and that kind of stuff. But how you and I both know how rare that is.
Right.
So you're not going to go there every day and always get something amazing like that. So I can agree with that.
Yeah, and one occurrence friend of mine that was on my show was telling me about was he said he went there and he thought he was part of a reenactment because he could see all the soldiers moving around. There was a mess tent, people were eating, they sat down to eat with them. And when it was all said and done, they went off to do their thing and came back and they said they were gone. So they went to the park rangers and were like, hey, what happened to the reenactment group? We wanted to thank them for that experience. And the park rangers were, we didn't have any reenactments today. That,
See,
that
that's the kind of thing that we would love to get. I would love to be able to experience something like that.
Yeah, but when I think about it now, like where we are today in the field of the paranormal, I had to sit there and go, is that and I don't mean this to sound like I'm, saying what they experienced didn't really happen. So don't confuse
They'll
it.
come at you.
What I'm saying is, did this experience unfold for them because they were open to Gettysburg, knowing what's going on, and thought, oh, there's a reenactment, so it became a reenactment for them
Yeah,
versus somebody else who's walking through and may just walk right by them and think,
nothing
reenactors,
of it.
whatever, no
Yeah,
biggie. And so they
yeah.
don't have the same experience.
No, I mean, yeah, I mean, because like you said, people see things differently. So if you're more open to it, like you said, or if you're looking for that, but and also if you're open to any kind of abilities you had, That almost sounds like a glitch or something, that it goes because like a time slip or something, which is a whole nother weird thing. But I mean, I think that happens too.
Yeah. I actually, from talking with a doctor on one of my shows, I can't think of her name for a second, but I was talking to her about how when I went to Vicksburg and was touring the battlefield with my parents, even though there's like no cannons around and they don't have a lot of like what you would consider like you would normally see in battlefields, it's mostly woods and like a few statues. But
Yeah,
I was like, there were troops here, and it's like and I'm relaying exactly what I'm seeing and
yeah,
smelling, and it's like you could taste it in the air, and it's like I was there. And so I thought, oh, I know I had a past life in the Civil War. I
yeah,
must be tapped into that. And when I went to Yorktown, same thing. It's like I could see what's going on, even
yeah.
though not really notably any signs. And when I was talking to her about it, she goes, well, that's because you time traveled. I was like, I
See,
did what? And she goes, when all five senses are engaged into that area, you have actually slipped into that area. And I was
and you
like,
had a connection to it too, so that was probably even more.
yeah,
Yeah, that's another thing that fascinates me is the kids that have the past life experiences, and just like you're saying, they can describe something to the T, and they'd never been there, or this person lived here, and that was my mom, and they go there, and there's someone there who lost their kid or something. That's crazy to me.
and I mean, I was blessed with the parents that I had because when we were done with Vicksburg, I mean, like, you can imagine, like being the mom and dad driving the car and
Yeah,
your teenage kid is in the back seat going, "Ooh, there was a cannon there. Oh, there were soldiers fighting over there or marching over
yeah,
there." You're like by the end of this tour, like going, "Are we done yet? Are we?" I'm getting tired of hearing this. But my mom, she actually was like, she would say, "I wish you were a history teacher." Because
see,
if you taught history that way, I think more people would because you just brought it to life.
yeah. I
And I
think
was
how we
like,
are treated as kids, just like you said, it makes a big difference in what we develop into.
it does.
Yeah, I mean, I think all kids, like they always say, are closer to the spirit world and have more, they can see more. But just like that, if my kid was like, hey, there's a guy sitting over there, some people are like, no, there's not. Stop. You're just seeing things. That's an imaginary friend. But if they're like your mom who encourage it, you keep open to it and you never shut it down.
That's true. And you also have to learn, and this is going to sound really funny, but you have to learn where and when to talk about it
Definitely.
because you can have great friends in this world. I know I do, but when I mention something along the paranormal, they just look at me like you're nuts, whatever. We'll just you're cool to hang out with, so we'll just let it slide and move on. But I mean, you got to learn to find those niche groups where you
Definitely.
can talk about it and be like encouraged
Yeah.
versus where if you're going to talk about it, you best be prepared for ridicule and everything that's coming with it.
Yeah, like my judge, I work for a judge. Does not believe in, well, she does believe in the paranormal, but she believes more like the religious people. It's evil. It's all evil spirits. So I know, don't bring anything up around her. Some people who know, like other attorneys that know what I do, will come in and ask questions and she acts like she doesn't hear. But yeah, you definitely need to know where you can talk about it and where you don't.
Oh yeah, and I'm getting caught up in the chat room.
Okay.
Down and Dirty was saying most focus their investigations on the Civil War in Gettysburg, but I've gotten English accents and even Native Americans through my spirit box and other tools. Yeah,
Absolutely. I think the Native Americans kind of get forgotten about because, like you said, you're focused on whatever story or history you're on there, but they were here and part of all that too.
yeah. And Here's an interesting thought, and I kind of explain it from my perspective of we're talking to an energy, so an energy can talk to us. But if it is like old English versus modern English,
Yeah.
how do they understand us? Because we are using words and everything they've never heard. And it does start to beg the question, how do we determine how old these spirits really are? And if they are like Native Americans, how are they comprehending and speaking with us because their language and our language have never been linked?
Now, see, I actually just had this discussion with someone a couple of days ago, but I think that once you're in the other realm, it's kind of where you can and you everything is like when it's telepathy, you just kind of know it. You know what I mean? They have an accent. I don't know if you've
Right.
ever like seen the telepathy tapes, but there's autistic kids that are telepathic, but they know different languages too. I think that's part of after you're into the spirit realm, you just kind of are given that knowledge.
Yeah, I agree. Somehow I feel like our mind, I always view the mind as like this computer. And so if we think about it that way,
Yeah.
computers know all the languages. It's like they have
Yeah.
programs of the languages built into them. So
Yeah.
like like you're saying, the telepathy, that's your mind, not you.
Yeah.
So it's able to conversate where you would be sitting there going, did you just like whisper or what in the world was that?
Yeah. Yeah. I that's another thing that the telepathy that really fascinates me too. There's a show called the Telepathy Tapes, and they talk about a lot of the autistic kids that are telepathic. They go to this one place where they all kind of meet, like telepathically, and they all know each other, and they just kind of know everything, and they meet and just get to talk to each other. That's really cool to me.
That is cool. And kind of going along here, Willow Roots Creation says, I had an entity attachment follow me, but Masons had done a ritual on me prior to going. So I got two questions about this. Is one is why would you have the Masons do a ritual on you? And second, I'm kind of curious, Layla, your thoughts of are the Masons, misunderstood? Are they really this intricate society, or do they get
I
blamed
yeah,
for a lot of things?
I honestly don't know enough about the Masons. I'm not educated enough to really say, but I, I think it's a little bit of both. People, they've been here forever, so they kind of put more on them. But I'm not really educated enough on them to know to say either way.
Yeah. And oh, Down and Dirty's talking more. He goes, I live about 30 miles from Gettysburg. I'm there all too often. I would be too. I have yet to get an experience like that, but have gotten plenty of reinforced evidence. Not saying that didn't happen, but it's oh, he continued. Small town. I would have heard a rumor somewhere, lots of laugh. But if it did happen, that would be awesome to experience. I think he's talking about having like the experience of watching a reenactment that's not a
Yeah,
reenactment.
yeah.
And now Down and Dirty's asking, where are y'all based out of, if you don't mind me asking? Oh, that is totally classified information. We could tell you, but we'd have to kill you. No.
Exactly. I'm in Texas. We're both in Texas.
Yep,
Yep. Nothing too. I actually love it here because there's so many different places you can go to investigate. It's so big
there
that there's,
are. And actually, now that I think about it, in September, Granbury is doing its Spooky Spectacular.
Oh yeah. I've spoken there before. I love Granbury. It's a cute little town and it's got some good history there. I actually was able to investigate the courthouse there. It was pretty neat. So that was fun.
I'm kind of curious about the opera house because how often do you get to experience an opera house?
I know, I know. I think I've been in there, but I was in there as more as the host. You know, the people that were coming through, I was one of the hosts, so you don't really get to experience it like when you're doing stuff like that because it's just kind of work. You're filing people through.
Yeah. Down and Dirty was saying, I'm glad you said that about the languaging, the languages, because the British accents he had to put into an audio program on his computer and translate to detect what language it was because it wasn't typical British. No, it could have been Saxon, it could have been Welsh, it could have been Celtic, it could have been Gaelic. I mean,
Yeah,
there's a lot of accents in the British that people don't actually think about.
yeah,
Even the
exactly.
English don't understand the English over there.
I can't with some of them. I'm like, that's too thick of an accent for me.
Yeah,
But it still fascinates me.
they were saying like it sounded like British, but strong British, hard to understand on an SP7.
That's funny.
I don't like the SP7 personally because I don't like the static. To me, the static is distracting, and anything that's being said throughout the static, all I'm hearing is the static.
Now, see,
I don't.
here's the cool thing about that though, because when you get something clear, it's amazing. Because like, so when I was in Jefferson, I was using the spirit box. We were doing little investigations, and my dad happened to have come through, and clear as day, he said Mihawk, which is his nickname that he used to call me. Clear as
Right.
day, and you hear it through the static. But I agree. Some of the times that people think they hear something, it's unless it's clear like that, which doesn't happen all the time. It's really hard.
Yeah. Willow is saying there's good and bad. It started with good intentions. Oh, talking about the Masons, yeah.
Yeah.
And then said, but like many things got corrupted by greed, power, money. I actually would disagree with the Willow. I don't think it's that it got corrupted. I think it got infiltrated and people went in to try and discredit. So they had an agenda they're enacting. So chances are you probably are not actually talking to a true Mason because I know a few true Masons and they talk about certain things to a certain extent and then they don't, but they're not into all the like secret dark rituals either. I think all that's been kind of drummed up to kind of sell a story.
Like the movie Skulls. Do you remember that movie from the
Oh yeah,
90s? That kind of sensationalize it. Just like the Conjuring movies, though. It's the same
yeah,
thing to me. There's, a lot of that. It's made for Hollywood, but, there's roots to where it came from, but
yeah.
they
But
make it bigger than it is.
you watched Skulls for Joshua Jackson, didn't you?
I did. I did. I was a Dawson's Creek fan.
Yep.
You caught me. You caught me.
Who wasn't at that time though?
I know, I know. Everyone loved Dawson's Creek. Those shows, just looking back on it, cracks. But it also brought, I Know What You Did Last Summer, those good movies too.
Yeah,
So,
I would almost say Dawson's Creek would be the equivalent of Friends.
yeah, you're right. I think you're right. Yeah, definitely. That was our version.
Yeah, Down and Dirty it says, "Hey, I may need a lawyer." Lots of laughs.
I can help you find one in Texas.
But he's Willow says, "Yeah, there are many factions. Yes, infiltrated, causing corruption. I don't know why I kept wanting to say illustrated. Eyes Wide Shut.
Oh,
That
that was a
was
good
a
one.
good
Yeah,
movie.
that was.
And Dawson's Creek. Can y'all remind me that I am not young anymore? Oh
We won't
yeah.
talk about that. We won't talk about that.
We didn't say what age we were when we watched that show, you know.
Yeah, we just say we knew the show.
No, but what I find interesting is when we talk about, and I'm going to kind of generally ask you about like historic sites. everybody, like, if I was to say to you, like the top three battlefields, Gettysburg is top on there.
Yeah.
Maybe Shiloh, maybe, um, trying to think one offhand that everybody would recognize in the chat room. A name would be Franklin.
Yeah. Franklin.
But if I was to say Bloody Lane, everybody goes, well, that's Gettysburg. No, it's not. It's Antietam. And everybody's like, well, what's Antietam? I'm like, that was the worst day. But everybody focuses on Gettysburg instead. And I'm
Yeah.
like,
Yeah.
I wonder, it's like if I was a spirit in Antietam going, what the hell, guys? You go over there to
I know
witness
there's
these
more
three
over
days,
here.
and we're like over here, nobody wants to say hello.
Yeah. That's funny. I mean, and there's stuff like that I think about too that me and my friend Jamie, she's Native American, I'm Latin. What if we're going into places those people didn't like us, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
Or, so I felt that before too, where you feel the hate towards it, but you got to think about stuff like that. You can't think of it in modern terms. You got to think about it just like you're saying back there. They're like, hey, look at me. I have better stuff over here than you do over there, but you're all over there.
yeah. Down and Dirty is saying my great X2 uncle. I'm not sure what the X means. And cousins died in the Battle of Shiloh Hill, Confederate side. I use that all the time as a trigger when I visit Gettysburg. You know, there's something interesting. Oh, he's meaning great great
Great, great.
uncle. I got it now. I was trying to think if you're trying to say like twice removed or something. Like I do genealogy and I have no idea what that means, but I'm like, it's there, cool. But I'm like, man, what did you do to get removed from a family twice?
I know, twice removed. He really pissed them off.
But here's something interesting is if we, I wonder if like you had a family member who, let's say, was at Bull Run just because that was the first battle of the Civil
Yeah.
War. If you show up at every battle after every site, can you be a trigger object because your bloodline was fighting in the war?
That's a
Does
good
it
question.
matter, which battles? Because if it does, I mean, imagine if you were late to the show. Let's say you joined when it was the Battle of Franklin, and then you go to the Battle of Bull Run, and Bull Run's like, we don't know you, we don't
Yeah.
recognize you, we don't have anything to say to you.
Yeah,
And you're
exactly.
like, wait, I'm a trigger object. It's like, you're not triggering us because you
Yeah.
weren't a part of it yet.
Yeah. Because I don't know who you are. That would make
I wonder
sense.
if that means anything, if which engagements you were in, or is it the fact that you wore the colors, or would they even care if you wore the colors at this point?
See, to me, if you're family, I think they would recognize you, but I don't know if, like you said, a complete stranger would really recognize that on someone this far removed as we are now.
Yeah, that's kind of funny. Down and Dirty is saying I'm trying to keep up with the cool kids these days.
Man, I tell you what makes me feel old is I do side work at Bath and Body Works sometimes, so there's obviously a bunch of kids that work there. And of course they're talking about Sam and Colby and all that stuff. And I said something, I'm like, yeah, that's kind of like Zach Bagans. They're like, who? None of them truly knew who he was. I'm like, oh my God, I'm so old. This is terrible.
Oh, I actually had an experience. You mentioning Sam and Colby. I I was like, I almost hit a high point for my podcast career and had it ripped out underneath me. These two or three guys walked up to me at Goatman's Bridge at night and were like, dude, can we get your autograph? And I was like,
Hell
dude, you guys
yeah.
like my podcast? That's awesome. Sure. I've never been asked to do this, but yeah, I'll do it. Yeah, this is cool. And then and then my friend ruined it because he goes, Why do you want his autograph?" And they go, "Well, because he was on the Sam and Colby show." And I was like, "Who?" And they go, "Two guys on YouTube." I was like, "I've never been interviewed by two guys on YouTube." And they were like, "Oh," and they grabbed their paper and walked away.
They're like, never mind, give me that back.
Yeah, basically, they were like, "Oh, sorry, we don't want your autograph then." And my friend like goes, "But he's got two or three really cool podcast shows," and they were like, "Yeah,
No,
whatever."
whatever.
It's
Exactly.
like, so it's like I was like, "Man, somebody asked for my autograph."
Your friend just should have
Turned
let
out
it
it was
go
the
and played
wrong
along.
person.
And they probably would have never known. They would have known it no different from whoever
Oh,
they
they
thought you were.
actually they probably would have gotten in the car and been like, "What is his name? I don't who's
Maybe.
what?" Been like
That's
get ripped
funny.
out of the book.
You're like, never mind. Damn.
You're like,
That
"Yeah,
is
we didn't
pretty bad.
realize."
That's like a
You kicked
really
it
high and
out.
then they gut punch you.
I know. I was like, "Wow, my first being recognized for my work, and it's not
That's
my work."
funny. I know everybody knows Sam and Colby nowadays.
I still have not seen anything that they've done.
I've like seen snippets of it. I've never sat down and watched them. I don't think I could. I don't even like watching the old ghost show. But back when I was young, I used to love watching that stuff. But now, because we know what's really going on, it's hard to watch
Yeah,
any of those.
I like how you say when we were young.
We were
Makes me
Dawson's
feel
Creek
like
days. Dawson
what
Creek days.
that is it period group where they have that song the, um some place, and I forget what the other song is, but they're like, "Yeah, when we were young."
I
Like,
know.
we're not that old yet.
I know. I know.
We're getting
Okay,
there, but we're
but
not
back
that old.
before I was more uneducated on the paranormal. How's that? That's how a
But
lot of people start out.
oh yeah, Willow was saying a criminal trial in France involving individuals connected to a former Masonic lodge facing charges. Yeah, that could be an interesting case to investigate. And I will say I was one time at History Haunts and Legends. I was up on this building, the second floor. It was me and Kellen, and we were walking down because they were doing the ghost box session and talking about who murdered who, and they were getting answers, and we're like, "Hey, we just found out who committed this unsolved murder because they admitted it on ghost box." And I was like, "Okay, that's cool." I was like, "Yeah, we solved the murder." All right. Well, we go downstairs and um oh man, Greg
Greg
with
Stevens
yeah,
with
it
Grip.
was yep, it was his son upstairs. Brandon was leading
Brandon.
the charge up there, but Greg had us going to this little room where I encountered a spirit, and he's like, "Yeah, I knew that would happen. I knew you guys would figure that out." And, I thought I was gonna go after him more than you, but wow. And I was like, "Yeah, cool. Thanks for that
Yeah.
experience." And I often wonder, though, with your background of paranormal and legal, if they were to take that recorded session into a courtroom and say, "Here is a confession," would it actually hold up, or would they get laughed out and said,
They,
"You totally fabricated that, it doesn't
they would get
count"?
laughed out. They would get laughed out. They'd want it authenticated, certified, all this kind of stuff.
I was just curious because I
Yeah.
mean, we all look about going there and you know solving these, but are we truly ever going to solve anything? Because nothing that we have would count.
Yeah. I mean, look at mediums when they help solve the cold cases and that kind of stuff. There's no real proof and they can't bring that as evidence to court. Like the medium told us to go over here and find the body. They, even though we know and we believe in that it's true.
Yeah,
That wouldn't hold up. We wish that would be nice if it did. But
I
there's so
would.
many fraudsters out there too, I guess.
Well, and I wouldn't want to be the medium to say, yeah, the body is over there and there's another body over there, because
I know.
you're going to be locked up and proving. How do you know where these bodies are without being the
Then you're
killer?
going to be accused of
Yeah.
it.
I'm like, you're going to be forever marked as going behind bars,
Yeah.
suspected, because
You knew
you
too
know
many
where the bodies
details.
are.
That's true.
But Down and Dirty is saying, we were on the Eisenhower Bridge. Soon after, it felt as if a whole battalion was marching over the bridge. Eisenhower was built after the war ended, so that was interesting. Well, but so here's what you got to understand. There could have been soldiers after the Civil War marching. There was the period of oh, what did they call it? It's not reintegration. What did they call the period after the Civil War?
I know what you're talking about. I can't think of the term.
Reconstruction.
Thank you.
That was
You
it.
put me on the spot. I could never think of it like
I know. I was like, I was working it. I didn't mean to put you on the spot. I was trying to work it out myself. And so you have troops moving around. So it could have been that. It could have been World War II, World War I troops,
Yeah.
training. So just because you're feeling it doesn't mean it's not possible because of time frame, because that's not the only war. So
Yeah. Yeah. Could have been something
we
else.
don't we don't know where all of the militias or all the troops trained, and just because the bridge was built later, there could have been a bridge there before that was destroyed, or they could have marched through the water because it was smaller amount of water then, and so they just walked through it. And now there's a bridge, so now you feel it on the bridge.
Yeah.
And this is one thing that I have come across that a lot of people don't take into account, to where we look like there's a spear floating up the wall towards the ceiling, and we're like, oh my god, it's levitating. But in their time frame, there could have been a stairwell there,
Exactly. Yeah.
and
And
so
to
they're
them, they're just
walking
going
up
down
the
the
stair.
hallway. They're just going where they're supposed to go.
Yeah, and when they walk through walls, they're not walking through walls. There could have been a door there,
Yeah. I agree with you on that
and
100%.
so we gotta start to learn and go. What did the prior land look like? Well,
Yeah.
what was here before?
Yeah.
Were there structures? And what was interesting is somebody was doing a report on in England where they were like, there are so many spirits that are like you only see them from waist up. They're like these floating bodies,
Yeah.
and you're sitting there like, that is super creepy. I don't know if I could stand seeing that all the time. Well, somebody goes and says, well, but here's the street level of London today. We'll say London, for example.
Yeah.
Here was street level 40 years
That's
ago.
true.
Here was
That's
street
true.
level 100 years ago.
Yeah.
So if you're looking 100 years ago, yeah, you're about midway up in today's
Yeah.
height. So, yeah, you're walking down the street, but all that people are going to see is your waist up.
That's so true. I never even thought about that. That's true, though.
So yeah, that's where I got that original notion of we don't know the original conditions anymore.
Yeah. I mean,
And
when I've
so,
heard of that, people are doing like a residential haunting or something, and they talk about just like what you're saying. And then the original owners were like, oh, well, yeah, there used to be a different room there, and it was a hallway that went that way.
yeah. Or could you imagine being the homeowner and they're like, there was never a door there.
Yeah,
And then finding out there's a room there that they never knew about.
I know. So I would go to the movies like there's something stilled up there that you're not supposed to get out
Yeah,
just for
uh,
fun.
that is. Down and Dirty is talking about something. He says, later I was tasting iron. I felt I was getting stabbed on both my sides. We did capture a full black figure standing too close for comfort right behind me. At the time, I was feeling all of this. Well, that could be a Buffalo Soldier, or there were black troops in the Civil War, unbeknownst to a lot of people. I know this is going to get controversial, but it is a fact. Black soldiers were on the Confederate and Union side. They were used by both.
Yep, they were.
I know everybody likes to say, oh, they never would be in the South because of this or this. It was like, nope.
Sometimes they were forced to, just like you said.
Yeah. Oh, he answered about the bridge, the Eisenhower Bridge. It was frequently used, but later after the war. The bridge was allow easier access to run feed to one of the fields. Yeah, see? Willow Root says, just realized I guess you had two YouTube screens going. I was in the vertical. So I get this a lot lately, and I don't know if you've experienced this, Layla, but so there are two versions of the show going right now.
Oh, okay.
There is the vertical is where I'm on top. That
Oh,
is
okay.
the cell phone version. It
Oh, okay. Okay.
it gives me the option to see that. So if I'm putting something on screen or showing something, I can make sure it's where you can see it. And the big rectangle, that's a normal computer screen. So
That's
Willow,
funny.
you just found both versions of the show, and so kudos to you. They're not different shows. It's the same show, just airing two different ways.
Or is it the same show in two different dimensions?
Yeah, I'll let you ask her that, Willow.
That's funny. I can see how that would confuse people.
Yeah, science and metaphysics needs to come together. Uh, I feel like it has, but it hasn't because metaphysics brings in the religion part, and it also um
I think the
science
science
is
is
too,
so close-minded too.
yeah,
They don't think the same.
yeah. And I got a little distracted because I was looking at the Down and Dirty's comedy. It says, "Oh, you got to read up." I'm like, "What?" And then I realized, and then he goes, "There was something before the bridge," and I looked, and I was like, "Oh, he's got." The other part of the message was, "I never go into an investigation expecting anything. I always keep a clear head and say a prayer before and after. This was a crazy investigation." Yeah, you do need to um protect yourself and everything, and
Yeah, I think that's a when we were out at the bridge, we would really before we left and he calls it a prayer, but it's just more like, hey, thank you for showing us, but you stay here, don't come home with me kind of thing. But you do kind of need to, depending on the
yeah,
location, protect yourself.
he's saying I was saying right after saying Nick's a Confederate, we got that reaction, making it suggest it was a Civil War march. Oh, so they have family that was in the Civil War, and so
Yeah,
they're saying it's responsive there. He
yeah.
goes, I done wrote you a book up there.
And
I
you skipped over
appreciate
all
it.
of it. That's funny.
If I read it all though, we'd probably be here all night on that. So sorry if I missed parts of it. I just tried to read the parts that were pertaining to where we are. And Willow Roots is laughing. They're going, "Yep, one vertical, one horizontal."
That's funny.
They do need to be more open minded, and they limit it with science. Well, the problem with science, though, too, is, in my opinion, if I was to say grass is blue, they're going to say, well, scientifically, everything we have says it's green.
Yeah.
And I'll be, and and I can argue, well, how do we know that that's green? And and they'll say, well, because it's reflecting the frequency that's green. I could then argue, how do we know that's what that frequency is?
Yeah.
Somewhere, someone just determined that and said it, so we all agreed and just accepted it.
Yeah.
Nobody today sits there and goes, maybe we should test to see, is this frequency really is green?
Yeah.
How do we know? And I think that's, one of the interesting things and why I put it in a book in one of my recent books. In the chapter I titled it Blind Truths That We Just or Truths We Blindly Accept,
Right.
because I mean, we look outside and we're like, I can say the sky is blue, and everyone's like, yes, it is.
You just go
How do
along
we
with it.
know it's blue? Well, because that's what we were taught. That's what we were told. Did we do any experiments to, validate that
Yeah.
that's what that is? No, because
You just got told
science
that and we
told us.
accept it.
Yeah, science told us that.
Yeah.
But everything that's been done, no matter what, no matter when, has never, I think, actually been validated. I think it was all done in a time period where everybody was like, yep, cool, we have that. Now we know what
And just
that
went
is.
with it.
Moving on.
Yeah.
And didn't really like determine it. And I even went as far as in my book to say, like, with the green, if we really honestly were to see what it is, it would be like frequency waves or
Yeah.
frequency code. And so
Yeah.
I make the little comment just to be funny. I'm okay accepting the grass is green, even though I know that that's probably not the true color because it looks better than the matrix code.
Right.
So for aesthetics, I'll say it's green
There you
and
go.
I'll accept the lie. But it's like, how many, and you look at the paranormal field and we all say, oh, we saw an apparition. This person must have lived here once. Or, oh, this person, died here. Or, oh, this person is stuck here. Or, we have all these, in other words, lineage of questions
Yeah.
that puts that spirit there. And I'm like, but what if they're not there? What if
Yeah.
they were just passing by?
Yeah. They're a traveler. They're just like you said, going through.
I mean, or, another timeline. And
Yeah.
this is where I get people all the time is we're okay, so you're familiar with the residual
Hmm. Yeah.
episodes where you see the same thing over and over.
Yeah. Yeah.
And science has proven there are certain times when the veil between dimensions is weaker than
Yeah. It's
others.
thinner.
And so I'm like, so what if we have it at its thinnest? What if we're on ley line or some energy force right there? Call it what you will. All these factors mixing together, and you're looking and you see a lady cooking maybe in a fireplace.
Yeah.
And you're like, wow, this happens every night, we'll say 8 o'clock at night. Well, how do we know in the old ancient days at 8 o'clock somebody would be in there cooking
Yeah.
to say this is a residual haunt, this person's always here, this is who it is, when it could be another timeline or another dimension
Yeah.
And they're probably not saying anything looking at us because they're looking, thinking the same thing. Who is this and why are they always there at this time?
Yeah. Well, they say that about deja vu sometimes, that you're seeing something that you like accidentally went to a different timeline or dimension. And that's why you're like, oh, well, I know exactly that I've experienced this before because you're going back into a past life.
Yeah. And yes, timelines are trippy.
Yeah.
But
I think you can go into a whole rabbit hole with that.
yeah, and I was just gonna ask, your thought, do you ever in investigations think, could this be an alternate dimension, alternate reality, or do you keep it for the point of the investigation to, we're gonna focus here, keep everything here?
Yeah, I focus more here, but like you said, if I were to see like a whole reenactment type thing, I would, it could be something that I would revisit, but I don't go in thinking that. I go in thinking it's, what's there right now.
Yeah. What do you think when people say, oh, this ghost is stuck here, this spirit is stuck here? Do you actually think that that's valid and possible, or
I think in a way it can be because, everyone says God gives you free will, right? So what if, there's their free will to stay here right now for some reason, whatever in their mind, they got stuck wherever they're at in that time period and don't know that they can move forward. Um, I also believe that there is possibilities where there's a lot of spirits, that there is a bad spirit that kind of keeps them there sometimes, and because they're just stronger than whatever else is there. But I think it's more like a mindset here, just like we're human, we have different mindsets. I think it could be the same way.
yeah, because I'm of the opinion their energy.
Yeah,
If science is the know all be all, what is the one first law of energy that science teaches us? It can neither be created or destroyed. So,
yeah,
how do you contain it?
yeah,
It's
yeah.
like,
I mean, I think it's I don't know if it's more that it's like a part of them, their soul or something is kind of stuck behind, but it's, because they don't understand what's happened to them.
yeah. And yeah, and deja vu, there is a form of deja vu Willow was kind of talking about just now, where we're starting to call them Mandela effects
Oh
because
yeah,
they're becoming more rampant. And that is where events happened, but then they happened again. And it's
yeah.
like, how is this possible? And my favorite one is, and it's my favorite one because it's like there's actual proof evidence and it's hilarious to look at, but it's the Fruit of the Loom logo,
Oh yeah, yeah. I've heard that
where
one.
they have a letter in the late 90s 2000s that says, we have never had the cornucopia as our part of our logo. And then you have someone with the receipt from the 70s or 80s with the cornucopia in the
That's funny.
logo. And you're like, this is a receipt from your store.
So it was
That's
there,
your logo, but your paperwork is saying this. So how can we have both? And it's
right?
like, and it's not like this is a crisp, clean, receipt either that
Yeah,
somebody
yeah,
pressed and kept. It's
yeah,
all crumbled up and faded and everything, but it's like you could tell it's old.
yeah.
But it's like, yeah, the evidence is there, but yet you're telling us it's not there. What? And so
I know the Mandela effect just it trips me out too. Like the whole Shazam movie, they say that there's a movie Shazam that never really happened, but everyone swears they watched it.
I know, and it'd be interesting to like see if, whoever they think was in that movie, if they ever cashed a check for it,
Oh
got
yeah, that would
paid.
right
It's
somewhere.
like, did you get paid for a movie that doesn't exist?
That would be cool, right? You'd have that kind of proof of it.
Yeah, but here's a little trippy thing for movies that's a new reality that we all have to be on the lookout for. and that is like Jack Black testified and talked about this, and some other actors have,
Hmm.
to where they get approached by a studio and they say, "Hey, we're tapping you to do this movie. Are you interested or not?" And if he says, and like Jack Black said on one, he said, "No, I'm not interested. I don't want to be associated with it, whatever this movie's about." And they said, "That's fine. We'll just AI you in it and we
Oh,
just don't have
yeah,
to pay you." And he's like, "All right, I'll do it." Because then at least he's getting paid for work,
yeah,
since it's his image.
yeah,
But that's going to be the new, like, almost like a Mandela effect is going to be, are these actors really in these movies or are
yeah.
they generated copies?
I mean,
And
now we're getting like AI songs and all that kind of stuff too.
yeah, I mean, because when we look at like movies, and we're assuming all this technology is new, which, newsflash, if it's coming out now, rule of thumb is it's probably been out for like 30, 40 years that they
Yeah,
were using it. But when we watch movies, let's say hypothetically, we'll say Nicolas Cage. We're like, hey, he did great in these movies. And then you watch him in this one movie and you're like, dude, that is like, he was so awful in
it
that.
was terrible.
Now we have to sit there and go, but was that really him? Or
Yeah,
was that an image of him
of him
used?
used. Yeah,
In which case, did they just, the AI not get it right? And so it didn't match up properly.
it didn't match up to his personality.
And so that's going to create a whole new scenario for all these movies that are coming out, and everything is, when we look at actors and going, why did they make that movie? Question is, did they?
Did they make the movie?
It's like, were they
That's
really in it? And
yeah,
Willow says they saw it, they swear it. There's one about a Doritos commercial too that apparently never aired, but I specifically remember it because of the line, "When pigs fly." My first book I wrote is titled "When Pigs Fly." Yeah, so some of this, folks, I'm just gonna take a second here and say, when there's like a little bit in one message because a really big message, you're only allowed so many characters to a comment. So if you're over, that's why it's like
it's putting it in different
the
ones.
little bit is on the other part. It's I don't think it's that, like, I don't think in this case Willow didn't remember the title of their book and then
Yeah,
wrote it like a couple seconds later. I was like, nope, they ran out of room, so they put it in below. And so that's where a lot of messages seem like they're really big and then short, is because it's one message just
yeah, and it
had to be
cuts it
broken
off and
into parts.
continues. That makes sense.
But yeah, I mean, where do you stand on the whole, did this, like, certain commercials, did they really air if we don't have proof of seeing them? Or was a book written but nobody has ever seen this book? It's like, you always hear of, like, oh, there's this story that was told, but now
Yeah.
I can't find it. It's like, well, was it told, or are you like making up a title out of
I
thin
think that's like
air?
I said, the mind is a powerful thing. So, you can, and even I think it's like mass, right? You can happen mass amount of people, just like you're talking about. Did I see this commercial? Did I not? But I mean, the mind is a crazy thing. You can trick it to believe things that, you'll absolutely be convinced in it and it never happened. So I definitely think it can happen.
Yeah, and so I know we're getting, oh, we are over time. Oops.
Oh, okay. Just
I
kidding.
was like about to say we're getting close to it. I was like, oh, we're at an hour
We're
and
over.
34 minutes. I was like, oh,
Oh,
we're actually over.
it went by quick.
It did. But I was gonna ask, in from your perspective, because everybody brings a unique perspective to the paranormal and everything, but with you having abilities and everything, what is your hope to see the paranormal field develop into in the next, let's say, 2 to 5 years?
Man, I would hope, first of all, that everyone would quit fighting so damn much and that everyone would be able to come together. But I think I wish that science would advance enough that there are some of the things that we see that we'd be able to prove. But I think everything's, like I said, ever changing. So, maybe one day we would be able to get scientific proof of that what we're getting is real. And, if
Yeah.
we could ever come to that.
I think science has tried to, but I don't think they were prepared for it. And what I'm talking about is those glasses. I've seen them on a paranormal TV show where it has red lights around the
Oh,
eyes,
yeah, yeah,
and you put it on and you see the spirit world. And then they're like, when they took it off, and everybody, when they take it off, says they have a headache. Well, VR, I hate to tell this to you people, but this is true. When you put virtual reality headsets on and you're spending hours in that VR world, you are reprogramming your mind.
your
Your
mind.
mind is
Yeah,
mapping reality to be the VR.
yeah.
And so I feel like that's a little bit too dangerous, because that's why gamers are struggling. I think now in the real world is the
I
VR
agree.
system has warped reality. And
Yeah.
so
I mean,
those
well, a lot of things.
goggles, I
Yeah.
think, I don't know that they were designed right, because the brain, we got to figure out a way to where the brain can see it
Yeah.
without rewriting itself.
Yeah. I mean, I think our higher selves would be able to see that kind of stuff, but I just don't think, and like, who's to say what the spirit realm looks like? We don't know what it looks like. That's their version of what you think it looks like, right? So, but
Right.
yeah, I think absolutely you can program the mind, to believe or see what you think you're seeing.
Yeah. So I do have one last very important question for you. Depending on your work, you can either say you're doing that or not doing that. But if someone watching this episode tonight was like, wow, that Layla is really cool, I'd love to get a reading by her. Are you doing readings, and where should they contact you?
I'm not doing readings. Like I said, I'm at the beginning of my ability, so if you don't know what you're doing, I think it's more dangerous as well. And I wouldn't want to do that to someone. If you want to reach out to me, I'd be happy to reach out and talk to you. I would love to do that, but I'm not at a point where I'm getting readings right now.
Well, then I did have a part two to it, just in
Okay.
case. What if a paranormal team is like, we want to go check out this place, but we want someone experienced that's in tune with the environment to join us, like that Layla? Well, how can
I
they get
would
a
be
hold of
happy to
you
do
to
that.
collaborate?
You can reach out to me on my Facebook and under my name. I recommend you send me a message because if I just get a friend request and I don't know you, I'm probably not going to accept it because there's a lot of crazy people out there. But reach out to me, direct message me, Instagram, anything you want. I'd be happy to do that.
No, very cool. And so I have a new out signing for the show since you've been on.
Okay, cool.
And it's a personal message from me to you. And so that is from my heart and the heart of my shows to you. Thank you for what you're doing for the paranormal and for humanity and the community. Thank you for being you.
Oh, thank you.
Always a pleasure having you on.
I loved it. I really enjoyed it. Thank you for having me back.
Yes, we'll have to do it again, and maybe
And
not.
hopefully we'll get to meet up soon in person.
Hopefully, we have 3 opportunities coming up. Maybe we'll get
Yeah.
lucky.
Yeah. Well, it's got to work out sometime.
It's just got to. We're too close for it not
I
to.
know.
It's
I
like,
know. Exactly. I meet up with my friends that are like in different states, so surely we're this close. We'll make it happen. We'll make it happen.
I think that's the problem. We're not far enough apart, because when it's
Right?
distance, you make more of an effort to connect. When it's close, you're like, I can do that anytime, and it gets pushed
That's
off.
true. Exactly. And we shouldn't do that.
But yeah, so thank you for coming on again, and thank you for sharing everything with us. And was a lot of great fun. And I looked, we actually did get to cover all the topics, even though it looked
Yeah.
like we had no idea where we were going.
Right. But it worked. We made it work.
It's because we're the cool kids.
That's right. Exactly. The Dawson Creek Cool Kids.
We own our Dawson Creek
That's
side.
right. Hey, I'm not ashamed.
Although I will say I don't have that on DVD yet.
I know. I need to watch. It's been so long since but you know what? It'll ruin it if I watch it again because then it
I
won't be as good
know.
as I remember.
We'll, we'll
So it's
probably
better that way.
we'll probably catch like the season opener and be like, how was this so engaging? And why were we watching this so religiously?
Exactly. Exactly. Then it'll ruin the memory for us.
Exactly. All right. Well, have a wonderful night and rest
Thank
of the
you.
week.
You too.
And I will see everyone on the next episode.
Bye. Thank you
Uh,
for having me.
thank you.